Well, let me tell you something, brother. The following Dysfunctional Gaming program was filmed in front of a live Twitch audience.
Hello.
Hi!
Hello, wanderers. Welcome to our dungeon.
Oh, I think I don't know if I should go in here. It looks spoopy.
Hey,
There's a
Griff.
boat. Look.
How's everyone doing tonight? Welcome to Dysfunctional Gaming's Talking D&D. This week, we are talking about the dungeons. The first D in D&D. Dungeons. We'll be speaking from the DM's perspective, giving you the information you need to hear. Hopefully, you like it. Hi, Fuzzrav.
And if you don't, I was going to say, if you don't like it, tell me why you don't like it.
Yes, let's hear some information. We'd love to hear from you guys. So let's talk about how last week went. We had our episode on feats. We talked about
How they can make or break the game.
yeah, and it was. I think it was a very interesting talk. We kept it pretty short and sweet, but at the same time got real in depth on what feats are and how they can make or break the game.
Yep.
We also created a feat called Focused Magic, and if you want to know about that, go back and listen to that podcast, and you can figure out what that feat would be. And
Or
we
let me
gave,
play test it, Rob, in our Monday game. Let that happen.
let us play test the stuff we make. Carlin also received the observant trait from her patron. That was the main storyline stuff that we put together. And yeah, so we're gonna get to it this week, talking about the dungeons, and we're gonna try to go in depth on how they have lots of different purpose and different uses within Dungeons and Dragons. You can do a lot of different things in a dungeon.
A dungeon could be an NPC. Just to throw that out there. If
It's
you
true.
really tried enough.
It's true. There's a lot of personality that you can put into anything in D&D, so just think of it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you want to talk about? What do you want to start with? How do you want to do this?
I mean,
Was that too early? That's too early in the.
That's way too early. I would not be saying that to begin my dungeon. How do you want to open the door? There you go.
Yeah.
That's how I would. How do you want to open the door to the dungeon?
How would you like to approach the dungeon?
Dungeons are probably the key element for a true DM to run a dungeon. It is grueling. It is a lot of work, depending on the dungeon and depending on your players. I've run several that I've made, and I've run probably some of the best ones in D&D. I've run White Plume Mountain, which is awesome. Dungeons can tell a story. Like, look at the Tomb of Horrors. That a lich made this, and it turns out it's actually a demi lich if you get to the end. But it shows like how he made this. Like, the Tomb of Horrors there's so much in there. There's so many false riddles. There's so many puzzles that have no explanation. And then you can also look at like the Doom Vault alternative, which is like a big ecosphere, like its entire whole system. To lesser extents, I mean, a dungeon could be a bar. Like, just have several different. It's all about how you flavor it. That's really what I've got to say on dungeons in a nutshell. There you go.
Well, a nutcase could work in a dungeon too.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of nutcases make dungeons.
If I was a druid, I would have a nutcase.
True. Or it could be something a gnome calls a cup, like a jockstrap could be their nutcase.
There you go. I like that. 3 gnomes in a trench coat.
Wearing a nutcase.
What would all right? I have a quick question. What if our big bad evil guy is 3 gnomes in a trench coat? What type of dungeon would that
Well,
big bad like?
gnomes are, if they're gnomes, they're that they're very good at tinkering and creating like contraptions. So it'd be a lot of like tomfoolery, but like really intricate traps at the same time. So like you'd see
So it
like
wouldn't-
a little robotic like chicken just like cluck 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 across the way, and you'd be like, "What the hell was that?" And then all of a sudden, it's just a fucking spears
Axe.
shot from like a mile, like a big ballista bolt comes flying down.
So it wouldn't really have like inhabitants like the Doom Vault
No, it would if it did have inhabitants, they'd be like big animals.
or constructs.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
constructs would be good.
That's a that all right. So yeah, now I've already got my mind working for
But
that.
so like I think when I think dungeons, I just think this is going to be a few weeks of my time thinking about how we can approach the next room. Maybe I don't know. When my party, not me, but as a DM, when the party is going into the dungeon, I'm trying to think which way you guys are going to go before you go that way, so I can kind of have an idea of how I want to run the rooms ahead of that.
So like 3 rooms ahead.
Yeah, but so with that, it's like I think you kind of need to know your party, obviously, as a DM, to get to that point. But if you're just going to throw in like a 8-room dungeon, that's going to take maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks at most, depending on how slow your party is. My party. You guys always take your time. Because
There's
Beth
stuff to loot.
Beth is very
Thorough.
thorough, yes. But if you have that dungeon set up the right way, you can really make it impress on your party, on the players. Something at the end that they find, you could kind of push to the last room they get to by changing the room layouts. You could always change, like you could be like, all right, well, this room's the same size as that room. It's just going to be a different one now. Like, it's not a big deal just to be like, okay, well, the last room's going to be the last room they go into. You can kind of really just go with what you want to do to make the end game work in that dungeon, if you want to. Or you leave it the way you set it up and let the party do what they want to do and see the hilarity that happens as they go to the last room before they get through the rest of the places by finding the chute in the back of the cave. So like there's those little things that you can do to make it so you're not just writing something in there, beating it in seconds. You can make it last a couple weeks while you continue to write more storyline behind that. I think that makes sense.
How important are puzzles in forcing the party to think critically in dungeons? That's a very good question there, Double D. I will go ahead and take lead on that.
I have one thing to say before you take lead. Puzzles could break your game. You could be sitting in front of a door for 2-3 sessions while the party tries to figure out the puzzle that it's an infant rhyme or something and should be the easiest thing ever, but your party just doesn't pick it up. That's one of my issues with puzzles. But go ahead.
Puzzles can be crucial depending on where you place them. Placement is always key when it comes to dungeons. One of my favorite puzzles, actually a couple of them come from Tomb of Annihilation. The first one is they have to travel through Port Nyanzaru and collect these stones, these 9 god cubes. And to open up the tomb, you have to put them in a certain order. And if they pay attention to the poem that is being told, you find out who doesn't like who. It's basically like Sudoku. It's like big Sudoku with 9 cubes. And if they don't put them in right, they get zapped. If they do put them in right, the door opens and then they have to proceed on to the next room. However, when the door closes again, the puzzle cubes get teleported back to the temples. So if they were to put them in wrong, or someone was to stay on the outside, they would have to collect all 9 of them and then try to get back in. It all depends on what you're trying to do with the dungeon, or if you want to kill your players. You can throw in a puzzle where you have to move a switch a certain way, and if you don't move it the right way, you get zapped. And I've been killed doing that as a player. I've potentially killed a couple of people with a couple of traps. But it's always think of your players, because your players, you should know your players if you throw them in a dungeon, and try and gauge their critical thinking when it comes to puzzles.
I did Vandal.
Vandal.
So I liked. So when I first started DMing for the Tonanaz, the very first dungeon that we did was the first the sewer with the rats and the rat queen. So what I did is at the end they had to work together to get to that point, and there was a big puzzle thing on the wall, and it was just the saying, and it said everyone could read it because it was in common, and it said "Speak friend, and you can pass." So all of them had to speak friend in their specific language. Madalak, yes.
Madalak.
So all of them had to speak friend in their specific language to get the door to open. It was just a magical door that everyone that was in front of it needed to speak friend in their language. And it was super... I made it easy for them to know, but it took them, 30 minutes to figure it out. It wasn't one of those, super hard puzzles, but I just kind of gave them a puzzle at the beginning because I just was, trying to follow the trope of having puzzles. But at the same time...
It's a very good word to use, is trope of having a puzzle. Perfect.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to say it.
Yeah, there's plenty of dungeons that I've run that I haven't had any puzzles in, only because I know how tedious they can be and how frustrating they can get when you don't understand the question or the riddle or the concept of the actual puzzle. So I just would rather just have traps that need to be seen. I'd rather have them look around a room and be like, oh man, there's no other doors in here, and then be like, well, I'm going to check the walls to see if there's a secret door, and have to roll to see if they can find that stuff, instead of being like, roll to see if you know what color the blocks needs to be for the right letter. That just gets kind of frustrating after a while. So I think using traps and having them roll to find traps and stuff can work better than having puzzles. But you can also do some really simple puzzles, maybe a weighted type thing, like one side needs to be weighted more than another side. That could work. But question: when I think dungeons,
go ahead and read it.
I always think lots of traps. From my RPG games I play, and then I always use the thief to try to disarm them. But any good dungeon needs some badass traps that can't be detected, need to go around. How do you work these party killer traps into D&D while giving the party a chance to beat them?
Do you got any? Because I have plenty of party killing traps.
Working them in is pretty easy. You can just make them harder to see. You're the DM. Make the DC. Oh no, this one was made with magical paint, so you don't notice it. It looks like the floor. You need to have magical eyes to see it. So you would need to use a spell to figure it out. Oh, you see magic. The floor looks like it's magic because you detected magic. Oh, well, there's something up with the floor. All right, we got to go around. I'm not going over that floor,
One of my favorite ones that I've ever seen was in one of the D&D ones that Matt Mercer run that wasn't Critical Role. It was the other one. I forget the name, but it was Chris Hardwick's character was a wizard with his pseudo dragon Missus Doubtfire.
Yes,
and he was reading a trap, and he's like, "Oh, you see an arcane sigil," and he read it, and then swish, he became paste. And it was the funniest thing ever, because it's like, oh, well, he gave him an out. And he rolled low, so he read it. And then the trap activated.
Yep.
Some traps are it all depends on how you have the activation. Tomb of Annihilation, Tomb of Horrors, some traps are just mean, like the floor pit that if you go one way, it's like a big giant teeter-totter above lava.
But that can be worked in as a puzzle too now. Like
Mm-hmm.
you could be like, oh well, you just saw a sign back there about something that's called the unbalanced in Dwarven, and then you show up into this room. You're like, oh, this must be what that thing that they were talking about, unbalanced, like or whatever. You can kind
Another
of mix them together and make it even harder if you want.
There's another deadly trap that I like to call the hand that feeds. If you bite at it, if you bite at it too many times, it bites you. Like the Doom Vault, the little pools that give you HP and you get a short rest, and it's like, oh, nice. And then you try and drink from it again, and something bad happens, and then you drink from it again, and it halves your HP. That's a great trap that helps. But if people abuse it, that's when it happens.
Yep.
What do you got?
And that's one of my favorite. That was one of my favorite traps I've ever run.
What's my favorite trap I've ever run is the best one. It's the Sphere of Annihilation in the mouth, and the Tomb of Horrors mouth. When you put your hand in,
yeah, that was the one I remember. That one. I was also thinking, the one that we did when we touched the thing, and it just like all the dust got on J-Rock's character and almost killed him.
Oh yeah, that was
or whatever
mold.
was up. Yeah,
it was a moldy tapestry. I was like, okay. And then anybody who didn't get a perception check didn't see the mold growing behind it. And then Beth, being a reckless berserker, which threw me off, slashed at it, and I was like, okay, everybody make a Constitution saving.
Yeah,
who's
and
near it?
That's just a trap that just wasn't. That was just chilling out.
No, it wasn't Beth who did it. It was Kyrie.
Oh yeah, Kari, not Beth.
Yeah. Let's see. Umlaut's golden rule for puzzles. If your players can't figure it out, your player characters might be able to. It's a case by case. By most puzzles should be roll solvable by the end to stop 3 sessions. Versus a nursery rhyme. I agree.
That makes sense. But at the same time, I physically get frustrated. You can see it on my face how frustrated I get with some of these puzzles, and I'm like, I just don't want to even have a part of this. You guys, good luck. Like, so it's sometimes it's just better to, I think, not even have them if your party looks like that after you give them a few easy ones. So
I like puzzles.
Some of them are great, and some of them are just really confusing to me. And I think it's the way people's brains work. Like, you hear things differently in sentences, and you fixate on different words, and so some things, and that's D&D. Some things work better for other people, and you'll figure that out as a DM by just playing with your party. What's some good, like, what's a good purpose for a dungeon?
That depends. I mean,
so say you're running a campaign. Say you're running this campaign, the Carlin campaign. What would be a good purpose for a dungeon right now?
Let's say I'm a wizard who needs to build a new outhouse, and there's a gelatinous cube in the dungeon. You need to bring it out and bring it to this hole, and when you're done, I'll pay you gold.
I don't know what you just said.
Oh, the gelatinous cube is my my poop system. I'm gonna poop into the gelatinous cube, and I'm gonna trap it. Like it, you can do anything with a good dungeon. Like, you can have it have a sacred item. It depends on who built it and what's in there, and why they're going in there. That's my issue with dungeons. Like, I've used dungeons in the past. Like, you use it as a training facility. For this party, they could go to like a fair, and this could be like a little fun house that they go through. That
Vandal said, housing a magical item that the group needs.
It's tropey, but it works.
I mean, yeah, that's a basic. That's like the basic. You meet in a tavern opening. You need a magical item in the dungeon.
Information. There's go here and find out everything you can figure out about it, and then tell me what you find out.
Yep. I mean, they are looking for that book, right? Carlin.
Yeah.
That could be something.
It's all it really all depends on what you need, because you can put whatever you want at the end, like where in whatever room you want. That's the
Yeah,
trick.
I mean, I wrote a dungeon, and it was to go kill the vampires, and I made a dungeon out of it, and you guys went in 2 times, 2 separate times. So, yeah.
That's a good thing about dungeons too, because if it's a big one, people will take a rest in there, and then things will reset depending on if a wizard built it. Magic will just
Or the more bandits will come home, or it's also underground, so there's also a Bulette family that lives under there, and they weren't home when you were first there. Like, you can add things in to make
encounter.
it.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can add things in and make it work to push the concept along.
Another adventuring party has come in.
Yeah, you aren't the only people that were hired to do this job.
Exactly. That's a fun one. Then it becomes a race.
And you have to, and then you remember that you get paid when you bring the thing back.
Mm-hmm.
So that's yeah. So those are some good purposes. What about uses? Like a use? How
Test
could
'em.
you? Yeah, I like that.
It's
yeah,
it's a test.
Yeah. See how well your party works together. Give them a few easy ones in the beginning. Slowly whittle down their HP, and then at the end there's a big bad for that dungeon. The meat guy at the end of the dungeon that takes up most of their life, maybe downs a few.
Tiamat.
Yeah. Oh no, that's endgame. I was thinking more like
that was a dungeon.
I was thinking more like Flinmo.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. Like you could do a 4 or 5 room dungeon. At the end, they fight a guy, and the guy like the Black Spider from Phandelver. Those type of things where you can kind of gauge how good your team works together, because if they don't work good together, you're going to have to tone down some of your combats at that point, because you're going to realize that you're going to just TPK them every 3 weeks. And then you're going to have people quitting because they're not having fun. Unless they have fun making characters and dying. Sometimes that's a good time.
That's me. I like making characters and dying. I played Ravenloft.
All right, let's get into some D&D vocab.
Do you want to start, or you want me to? You can go.
No, you go first. I think mine can be worked in to yours.
I'm going to talk about ecology, y'all. Dungeon ecology is a big thing that I believe in, and I know I'm a huge fan of making no sense whatsoever all the time with chaos and such. However, when it comes to dungeons, if there are creatures that live in there, they have to live and eat and breathe. So let's say you've got a bunch of locked doors in a dungeon, and then there's one door that has 2 locked doors, or one room that has 2 locked doors, and in that room is a bunch of sturgeons. Those drink blood. They're basically big mosquitoes. There's like those little things that most people don't pay attention to. Like if you're in a cave, you won't have as many doors. Like you won't have creatures that are trying to open doors, or maybe they're locked for a reason. Like there's a big bad manicore that can't open doors, and it's locked in the final room, and everything else is open because people were running out, and this thing moved in. It's little things like that. Like if, let's say, these 3 gnomes in a trench coat had a bunch of wargs or wolves that lived in there, there would probably be like a pool for something near them to drink from, some form of food system, maybe. Depending, it's little things like that, and like if a wizard were to make a dungeon, there's probably a lot of different things going on in that one. Like Undermountain, for example, there's so much just depth to the dungeon itself without even saying much, because this person who lives in the final floor can watch you come through his little pit house and get through these 15 layers of hell. But it's just little things like that, like carrion crawlers, things that can't open doors shouldn't be stuck behind locked doors. Have them get open so they can get food or ambush parties, or have doors that lock so your party can ambush other things. Like, they know that there's something big and bad that lives in here, and then they find this little alcove by the pool of water that they know it drinks from, and they kind of make it dark in there. It's little outs that can bring up the story and the richness of a dungeon with the ecology. That's what I have to say. That's the word.
Okay. Cool. I like it. So with the ecology, some of these dungeons are pretty dark, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. That alcove that the thing drinks from, that's probably pretty dark.
And I brought dark vision and how dark vision works. So a lot of people use dark vision differently. And the rules as written, you still see dim light, but it's shadows. So picture you're in the dark. Griff, I know. Tell me about it. So you're in the dark and you turn on a flashlight. You can see the way that flashlight looks. Now, if you turn that flashlight off and you were looking at someone, you might still be able to see their shadow within 30 feet of you. So anything within your dark vision, you can still see, but it's just silhouettes and shadows. It's not actual dark vision. It doesn't look like night vision. It's you can see better than people that can't see with dark vision. As a human, you can't see in the dark, but as an elf, you can. It's just like, yeah, it's not, and it's up to your DM. DMs can take it however they want. I've kind of put my own little spin on it, where if you have dark vision, I'll let you see up to 30 feet. If it says you have dark vision of 60 feet, that means you can see up to 30 feet, and that other 30 feet is shadows, and that's it. So, like, 30 feet is your max, because you shouldn't be able to see further than 30 feet in the dark, ever. Even with a light, unless you shoot
have
a light.
devil sight.
Yeah, and exactly. And well, that's the other thing, is, like, you can get upgrades to make your sight better. Then I'll upgrade your dark vision. Like, you can get these things. There's things like that. You can get goggles. You can get... It's just... As a DM, you kind of have to take a stance, I think, because everyone's going to go into a dungeon that's dark and dingy and doesn't have torches or light. It's like putting on... Yeah, exactly. And you only get to see into that first amount of light. And then everything outside that you can't see. People think they can see everything. There you go. See? Yeah, you'd look great in goggles. You look like Donnie.
To go with his yeah, absolutely. He has mittens.
What do they do?
They cover his claws in case things look like they got clawed. That's why he has mittens.
Okay. Wonderful.
It set the story. Something had 3 claw marks, and I was like, oh, we should get him something to cover his hand.
Oh my gosh. You guys are so stupid. They're literally mittens. No one says used identify on those mittens.
They're not my mittens.
But yeah, that's dark. That's my gist of dark vision. I think depending on your race, people get specific things that help with dark vision. And so just listen to your DM, let him make the rule, but let them make the rule, you know, and if after the it's a better rule than what I said, then take that. So yeah, from here on we go to break. Does anyone have any questions on dungeons that we've talked about yet? And or dark vision / ecology.
Devil sight.
Your ecology thing's great. I love that stuff, because when I made like the vampire dungeon, I had to think of what they would have in a dungeon. So I put those random people in there because they needed feeders. Like They needed people to live on.
Griff had one. Best worst dungeons you've been in.
Well, the ones that we've done we'll talk about after the break because that's our past experiences. But the ones that we've been in, I like which one was it? White Mountain? Plume Mountain? No.
White Plume Mountain.
The other one.
Oh.
The other one.
The Hidden Shrine of Tomoe-chan.
The one that had like the inside, it went like layered down.
Oh, that was White Plume.
Yeah, I like that one.
White Plume was a fun one.
That was cool setup.
That was what was your worst as a player?
I hated the Akink one. I hated it. It must have been so much fun to run, but I hated it as a player.
Best that I've been at
and
as a
the
player,
Death House. Fucking fuck
Death
that
House?
Death House, Beth.
Thundercat did not like Death House. Best that I've ever run best that I've ever played as a player, I would have to say I liked Castle Ravenloft. And then the worst that I've ever been in as a player is Castle Ravenloft.
Yep.
Every time I've played in Ravenloft, I have died as a player. It doesn't matter. Barovia is my nightmare. It's everyone's nightmare. And Castle Ravenloft is such a cool dungeon, but it's gonna kill you. Or you're gonna get to this cool little teleport thing and teleport back to a town that you don't need to be in, and then you're gonna go, shit, we have to go back into that stupid castle.
Yep.
True story, happened.
I made friends with the Were-Ravens.
We made friends with Skinny Pete, who was a lich who lived in a different dungeon.
Yep.
And then we killed Strahd, and then we got stuck there.
Yep.
And he came back. And now we're probably all his bitches.
I stayed and hung out with the Were-Ravens.
Yep, that's everybody but Vandal's wife.
Yep, that was funny.
Skinny Pete.
Skinny Pete, he was amazing. He didn't know why he was there.
Yeah, because someone fucking mind blanked him.
So we made friends with him, and we were like,
he was a lich who didn't know he was a lich.
Yeah, you're like, we're your buddy now.
He had a name, but I was like, nope, his name is Skinny Pete.
So, yeah, let's head to break real quick. We'll be back in like 4.5 minutes.
Let's all go to the lobby and get an hour.
Hey, we're back.
I'm Joseph.
So funny.
Hey,
Echoes. We're back.
Okay, we're good. We're good.
Some Swampus? No, you have to go to Dance Evan, and he's going to be wherever you're convenient. So
just to let you know, Dan's a dick. He's going to charge you an arm and an asshole, but it's good shit. Good shit.
Yeah, I mean, you saw what happened to that man with the blue cup.
I think he's just, he can't hold liquor, but that's a different story. Get them alcohol sweats.
Yeah, he'd actually probably have to take a boat over with the van, so he'd probably have to ferry from the
Dan's
US
E-boat.
across his e-boat.
Dan's e-boat.
He'd have to rent a ferry to get his van over there to sell you the Swampus, so it might take a little while to get out there.
Once you start getting more Swampus sales, then it could just be Dan's e-ferry, and you can just do back and forth.
I mean, I don't know how the numbers are run, but we'll have to talk to him about it.
People do numbers?
I guess
this is D&D. Everyone does numbers. Okay, let's go back.
A lot of math goes on in D&D. So here we go. Let's see. Past experiences with dungeons as a DM. What was your favorite dungeon to run?
To run? The Underdark.
Oh, the whole Underdark.
The whole Underdark is essentially one big dungeon if you really, really think about it.
So is the whole Upper Dark.
Yeah, well, I mean, the world, but the Underdark, you don't really have people trying to enslave you above ground, but once you go below ground, people suck. Rules get thrown out the window. Like, oh, I'm just walking along. No, you're not. You're a drow prisoner. You're level 1. This is where you start. I was like, well, all right, I like this campaign. Let's do it for people who are level 15 and shove them in the Underdark. and tell them that there are demons there that they have to travel through the Underdark, which sucks. Underdark life, yes. Hashtag. But in the the Oozing Temple. The Oozing Temple was so much fun to run in the Underdark because it had Glabagool.
Yep.
And that probably is my favorite NPC in a dungeon because it's a sentient gelatinous cube with a pair of eyeballs that floats around and looks at people. And the worst one to run, Tomb of Horrors. There's a lot going on. Yeah, the Tomb of Horrors suck to run.
Let's
Short
see.
answer.
Yeah, my favorite one to run. I don't even know. I think my favorite one to run was probably the most recent one because I actually got to like create it. Because I haven't really run any dungeons that were mine.
That's a good point. I ran a dungeon that was mine. It was a 4-room dungeon. It was dirty. It was remember when you guys went to hell?
Yep.
I was like, all right, so we're gonna have a social encounter. The second room is gonna be them opening the door. The third room will be them traversing to the final room, and then the final room is gonna be the boss fight. It had a pit where once someone started walking across, the floor goes out, and then there are 2 rotating blades where if you fall in, you're dead. It was save or die. And at that point, I don't think I told anyone. But my players and the party were very cohesive, so they worked together well, and I didn't have to offer to give someone an out because I didn't want to kill someone in hell because you're stuck there.
Yeah, so that was I did run the small one that was Bree's grandmother's throne room or whatever it was. I made like her little like area that they built a little shrine for her.
Not sorry, Umla.
I really enjoyed running that one. What other one was good? I mean, the Doom Vault was
hard.
Was awesome, but that's a tough one to remember everything. It takes a long time. It's very stressful for the DM and the players, so it's good, but it was bad. I don't know. That's the worst one was Vandelver's first one with the goblins. The very first encounter with the goblins. The cave.
Yeah.
That was my worst one. The very first one. The first thing you walk into you turn right, there's the room with the wolves, you go straight, you go up there's a little waterfall.
Oh, yeah.
The very first dungeon.
Cave, yeah.
You guys went in, walked out. I was like, what the fuck? I was so mad. You guys figured out right where the fucking end was and got it.
That's the trick about dungeons. That's why I like to use dungeons as you need to get me information on the dungeon because then you force them to stay in there as long as they fucking possibly can.
Yeah, it's true. I also liked, although it wasn't a dungeon, it was more of just an encounter, was Pink Feather Island. I'm always going to love that one.
That's a dungeon. That's an outdoor dungeon.
Yeah, because you had to take a boat there. So you had a boat encounter. You had the role play on the boat with the crew. You had the encounter with the Sahagin and the trolls.
Yep.
And then you had that at the end. That was your lead up to the big bad.
Mm-hmm. The giant flamingo thing.
Yep. That was one of my favorites that I've ever built. I don't know. Oh, and the one in Horde of the Dragon Queen when you guys fought all the frog people.
Oh.
With the lizard folk guy.
I thought you were gonna say the white dragon fight because
no,
that was the whole castle I read that recently, and I was like, wow, I can't believe you didn't fly as that dragon. I was like, we were also very, very young in our D&D careers, and I was like, I couldn't even remember if you breath weaponed us.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, I know, but you certainly did it all the time with Tiamat. You made up for that.
Well, that the very first
Got
encounter, of Lord of the Dragon Queen, when the Dragonborn walks out and
No.
and, and he's like, "Come on, who wants some?" and Vandal's character walks up and it's like, "I'll take some," and he's just like, "Pop." With he breath weapons her,
Yep.
and she just goes down, and he's like, "Anyone else?" And then I was like, "Okay, that's it." I'm glad I didn't kill her right away. That would have been so funny. You guys made it all the way there, and then it's just dead. Bye bye.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was good. So yeah, what's next? What's next?
Who's next?
Creation Zone.
Let's make a dungeon! 4 rooms. Dirty.
Forum Dungeon.
Yes, sir. Alright. So, we're getting an item. Mr. DM, who's
Is it an
helping
item?
us...
Is it an item
Or-
that Carlin's trying to get now, or is it going to be something they need to get to the compass?
Honestly, I think they're trying to get a book. Because have they gone into Candlekeep yet, or no?
No. So they're looking for the
Okay.
book. Oh, and then this is the book that what's his name? Crinklebottom. What's his name?
Throckmorton
Dingleberry.
Dingleberry.
Crinklebottom, I called him. Dingleberry, he knows where the book is, and he brings them to this dungeon. And it's like you want to say it's like a shrine that has a 4 rooms in it?
Yeah! Yes! It's a shrine to... the shrine to lost knowledge.
Okay, we can put a cool trap in here that like dumbs them for like an hour or something, so they can't like pass like intelligence checks and shit.
I like that. Yeah.
Because it's like lost knowledge. It like it like pulls your knowledge from you unless you're smart enough to pass the test.
Yep. So a DC...
They're all 5.
Let's go DC 14 intelligence save.
Just to get in.
Just to not... Here's the trap. This is... So this is going to be made by the 3 gnomes in a trench coat. The trap is... It's not affecting you on the way in. It affects you on the way out. If you fail when you walk in, you don't remember what you did on your way out. You forget entirely what you've experienced. Like you get neuralized on the way out. Like the whole what you did in the shrine is gone.
Okay.
It's easy. It's relatively an easy check. A 14 is not that hard. However, it's kind of funny for RP. It's some gnome trickery. They didn't lose time.
I like that.
I'm yelling at Umlau in the chat.
It's so we'll say that there's like a rune on the ceiling of the or in the threshold of the door. There's a rune, like, because the doors are going to be big. Like, you got to think that the walls are like
the
like
archway
they're
to
wide.
get into the shrine. Like,
Yeah, like you open
it's
the
got a wall
doors,
around it.
and then when you walk in, there's a threshold where the doors hold onto.
Mhm.
There's just a rune right there that takes that you have to take the. That's what
The
that
test.
is. Yep. Okay.
All right, so that's them going in.
What's the first room?
Let's say it's the garden area around the actual shrine. I kind of want to throw an encounter at him. immediately through off the bat to get them prepped that like they don't know what's coming out, and I want to do it with like twig blights. I want to do it with something.
I was going to say the plants attack.
Yep, that's the Tomb of Annihilation coming out in my brain. Tricolor fronds is a good one because those do all kinds of fire and acid and then cold damage.
What was the moss?
Oh, Shambling Mound?
Yeah. No, not the Shambling Mound. What was what was on the moss at the Tomb of Annihilation? They had like on the sides of the walls of all the buildings had a moss on it. And you said you said that there was, I forget what it was, but you said that there was a significance to them.
There was one in...
We can do twig blights. We'll do twig blights and that other one that you said.
A vine blight?
No.
Or a Shambling Mound?
No.
Oh, the tricolor fronds?
Yes.
Yes. Which campaign, Griff? The Bridge, the Feargate, and Golem? Hi, Gilded, because that was excellent. Hey, Fuzzy, yes, Umlau. Okay. So there's your encounter.
That, and then you could use passive perception to notice that, / if anyone is proficient in nature skills.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about it now because there's no druid in the party. The people who would notice it is probably offhand that I can think of would probably be the wizard and...
Carlin, because she's a gnome.
Carlin.
Proficient in nature or high passive to see like movement.
Or to notice something's afoot. Like those aren't plants.
Yeah. Or like that one of the move a little bit. Like there's like a little bit of a movement. You notice it. How's everyone doing? What we got going in the chat? I just noticed that we got
Gilded's here. Umlaut's asking
Prince.
about which campaign.
Fuzzrabs. Excellent. Hey Fuzzy, how's that? A bridge that ruined the paladin.
Ruined is
putting that lightly. All right. So after they do the garden area,
encounter.
What's stopping them from the next room? Is it locked? Is there a puzzle? Is there not an actual door? Maybe it's a secret door and they think that this might be the whole shrine kind of thing?
I want to do stairs. There's stairs going up to like the ascended platform.
Okay.
Like it's an outdoor dungeon.
Okay, so is it like a portcullis then?
Yeah. Like think Lincoln Memorial.
Yep.
Like how it's on the inside, but you have the stairs leading up.
Yep.
Let's see. Because you could use it. It could be. I like a 2-part one. Have it trapped, and then have like certain like carvings. Like if they step wrong, the stairs turn into a slide because that's always fun. And then you could also put like sigils up there to tell them what might be coming up, because you do have the paladin in the party who would probably know religion, and there's a dwarf so they can know stoneworking.
Well, I don't think it has anything to do with religion because it's the lost knowledge shrine. So we could make it more. We could make it more like intelligence based, arcana based stuff. I think we could have more fun with these traps.
You could.
I think you know what I mean. I don't know. Maybe the runes are different elements that they step on.
Sure.
If they step on the specific element, there's a burst of that element comes up from the rune on that person.
So kind of like there's a prismatic spray
of
coming
cold
up. Cold
or.
It's like you don't roll the D8. You would just have 8 steps going up.
Yep.
I like that. That's kind of neat.
And you'd have to figure out the right order, or you'd have to figure out how to get up to the top without touching the steps. Like,
yeah.
So it'd be like you would have to step up between 1 and 4. You'd have to step up on 2, then it'd be 5 to 8. You'd step on 6. You know what I mean? Like, Each
Or you
stair
could-
is a different number, but there's like 2, 6, 9, 12,
Like,
and then
have
you're
there
at the
be a
top of the
pattern?
stairs. Yeah. But
How would you get-
but it's a wizard's pattern. It's like, so you'd have to like really, but then you'd have them roll to see if they can figure it out. You wouldn't have to actually have them do a
Yeah.
puzzle.
Would you have it like on the sides, like of like certain like pillars going up the stairs?
Yes, that would be the way to
There
do
you
it,
go.
probably. Yeah,
Have it like crumbled off. Yeah, that'd be neat.
something like that.
Yeah.
We'll do an elemental staircase. Elemental staircase traps. Cool.
Now into the shrine with the book.
Into the shrine. The door is locked, though.
Okay. Is it trapped?
No, we just did the trap to get up to it.
Okay. So it'll be
So now you need your rogue
so
/
just pick,
thieves tool.
or a barbarian just knock the door
Yeah.
in.
If it's depending on the door.
Yep.
Could always have stone doors. Make it a little bit harder. You
I
gotta
have
think
an
if it was like wizards or someone with
Uh-huh.
a good intelligence, they could use like mold earth or create stone, well, that kind of stuff, like meld stone.
You would
or-
allow that. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's locked. They go in. I kind of want to just put the book there.
It's just
And
on
then
like
Indiana Jones
it's just open, like on a
Yep.
random page.
Yep.
It's got one of those little red feathers, like red
Yep.
things, and it's just sitting there, like someone
And then-
flipped a page and left it there.
Yep. And then
Uh,
Indiana Jones them.
Once it's removed, the door slams, and then the floor starts to crumble below them.
Yep. Or
Because
snakes.
you went up. Well, you went up a flight of stairs, so you're there's something below you now.
Yep. Yep. Pit of snakes. Pit of snakes. Let's do it. It's always snakes.
The door slams.
If it was built by
Magically-
someone with access to lost knowledge, then the door could be constructed to be immune to force open. It could be, but I like having, if people roll high enough, that's still giving them an out. It's always that balance. Especially if you don't have that creative party type. who
Or if
doesn't
you don't
like to
have
use their
someone
spells.
that can unlock it, someone that can pick it. Like sometimes you can't you don't have someone that can pick a lock, and the only option is to knock it down.
Yep.
Kind of have to like work around that.
Or hire a rogue.
Or maybe they could go back and look around for a key. You never know. Or you have Dingleberry be like, "Oh yes, I forgot. I had this in my pocket this whole time.
Absolutely.
This rune matches that rune," and he goes over and unlocks it. Like,
Big red button trap, aka Hubris trap. Easily visible button, toggle whatever flavor to setting. Push the button, make a DC charisma save. Fail to save. A beam of eldritch blood energy drops target to charisma to 1 to leave. Oh, jeez. Trap can be bypassed by just not pushing the button.
just don't push the button.
Where are my dice?
But there's a big red button over there. It means it does something. The door
would've failed.
slams magically. The floor begins to crumble. And a pit of snakes is below.
Exactly, Double D. You have to push it. There's no, like, I would see the button and be like, there's the button.
That's why you don't give your party the deck of many things, because
Which is cards.
that's the red button. You got it, and now I want to pull a card from it.
There's a big difference between a deck of many things and a button. That
You
one
know-
just drops your charisma to 1. The other one could put you in a gem and just completely derail your campaign. I could do that without a deck of many things. Go on.
I guess you're right.
right.
How do they get out
Yeah,
of the pit?
exactly.
What do they need to do to get out of it?
Kill the snakes is way out. There's someone who can talk to animals in there, so there's another. It depends on how the party wants to get out, like how they want to do it.
Yeah, it would
Really.
be up to the party, really. Because they could get back to the door eventually. Like
Exactly.
Okay, so yeah, I like that. So we have our 4-room dungeon, a shrine to lost knowledge where the book is inside, but you have to get through the twig blights and the tricolored thorns, and then you have to be able to be smart enough to see what runes need to be in order by looking at the pillars next to the staircase. And if you don't get it right, you'll be shocked or frozen or fired or acided. What other things can you do? Forced.
Acid, fire, cold. I don't have my deck. I don't have prismatic spray as a fucking warlock.
Well, anyways, that happens, and then you go and get to the door, and the door is unlocked, and you walk in, and you see a beautiful, pristine book just open, waiting for you to take it. And as you pick it up, the door slams, the floor begins to crumble, and you look down into the holes that fall below and see a pit of snakes, and they are not happy.
And then it gives you all the 4 elements that I like having as a DM. One, it starts off with the make an intelligence saving throw, please.
Yeah.
And then you just go, okay.
All right, and you
say
write them all down. Just write them down on a piece of paper with each person's name next to it, and you're good. And then when they walk out with the book after killing the snakes or friending the snakes or using the snakes as like something to hold them up and get to the door. there's so many things you could do.
Exactly. It has the puzzle.
Point, they walk out and they go, "What? Did we go? Why are we out here?"
Hey, look, a temple. Hey, look, that looks really nice over there. We gonna go in there? We just went in there. No, we didn't. We're just standing here. How did we get here? Why are we here?
Did we? Why is the door open already?
Why is there a boat?
Why is there a boat? Yeah. So that's nice. I like it. I like it a lot.
Also, it has that encounter for you to challenge your players with what do you want to do? How do you want to approach us? He's not wrong. Create 6 characters and then start with your second favorite one. But you'll probably end up being...
You don't...
It depends on your DM.
You can be smarter than the other players. It's okay. Out of character, you can be smarter than your other players. You can say, yeah, my character might do that, but I don't want him to. Okay, you guys go ahead. I'll be right here. And if you need me, good luck. Like, I've done it. I was like, go ahead, guys. You enjoy go and get killed. You don't need to follow every time. Mm-hmm. Your character can have a stance.
That was the best part about Pink Feather Island, because Baron Deer didn't experience it, because I was like, I don't swim. I'm not getting on that boat.
Yep. And so I got to have Patch be a NPC basically for me.
Captain Dudamont. Mm-hmm. Yes. Righteous.
You may know him from the R.A. Salvatore books.
Yes. Unless you play Lawful Stupid Paladins, follow me.
Yep, that's fine too. That's perfectly fine.
Superman is a lawful stupid paladin. Putting that on the record right there.
With God tier stats.
Oh yeah, he's a level 30 character, but he's lawful stupid.
Sure. I'll give you that.
I'm gonna snap this lady's neck if you don't not turn me into prison. Okay.
Okay.
Roll credits.
Right. Yeah, let's go. Speaking of rolling credits, next week we have a players. We have a players week. we will be talking about adventuring as a party and the things that you can do to spice stuff up, make it fun, enjoy yourself, because sometimes the DM needs help too. He might say, okay, you guys have a 6-week travel. We're going to go through a few days here and there. So that's when you guys can do your not just downtime activities, but you can do things along the way that make the sessions a little bit more bearable for everybody. And that's what I think about when I hear adventuring, like in D&D, is like those times when you're not just those times when you're not just getting encounters left and right. You have some downtime with your group. I think that's the most big important part of the adventuring thing. But what were you laughing about? Yeah,
I was laughing because you say adventuring and having like a whole bunch of travel. And yesterday we played some D&D. Griff and Umlau and other people who might not be in the chat. But I assume he must have had some travel planned, and then I completely negated it because I was like, hey, we're the wizard. You can teleport us places. And now we're on an island. And it's my chaos. My chaos negated a dungeon and all kinds of encounters, and now we're beach vacation mode.
Oh, gosh. You would do that.
Well, I mean...
we also will have a special guest. We'll have a special guest next Tuesday, someone who's been a good friend of ours for years now, and someone that I got the pleasure to play D&D with and as a player, and had him DM for me as well. Griff P. Kane, the guy in the chat right there, will be our guest next week for our adventuring talk. So yeah,
we can give you the insight on you'll get Dax and Tomo on the same podcast.
Yeah, we'll talk about some of the stuff that you guys do, and
hashtag Lex for cheese.
Make sure you guys ask questions on the Twitter, jump into the Discord and ask questions in the tavern talk, some stuff that you want to hear about in D&D we'll talk about. So we'd love to hear some topics from you guys. Then what do we have going on Thursday night? You guys doing Monster Hunter?
Capture cards permitting, yes. We're going to be playing some Monster Hunter. We're going to kill monsters. Console night. It has been confirmed that someone might have downloaded Destiny 2 again, so we might play some Destiny 2 on console nights coming up. But Thursday night will be console night, featuring Vandal and possibly myself and many guests.
I might be able to make it late. We'll see. Yep. Friday night, we have community night.
We're gonna sit and watch Community. No, wait.
Not live. We can't do that live. We can do that in the Discord, I think.
Let's do that. That's silly. Community night. We're gonna all watch Dan Harmon. Yeah, we're gonna watch Dan Harmon write about D&D, and then they're gonna film D. I'm done. Sorry, I can't do it.
So if you want to come hang out with us on Friday night around 9 p.m., we will be starting community night. I don't know what we'll be playing, but we might. Yeah, we could do a community night after party, watch Community in the Discord. Possibly. That's a good idea. Come hang out with us then if you want to hang out with us for community night. And also, I think next week, aren't you? We're going to try to do a WrestleMania watch party event thing. I'm going to try to set it up the right way so you can just hear us talking about the game, the matches while the matches are going on in the Discord. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm going to try to figure it out. So that might be something. Why didn't my new alert work? Son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch.
That makes me so mad. Fuzzrub, thank you for those bits. Son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch.
Let me play it
on Saturday night.
Let me see if I can test it.
Testing bits.
There it is.
Grammy award-winning country music artist Jim McGraw.
That's what's supposed to happen. Jim McGraw's supposed to come say hi.
Is it different for 100?
I have to I have to figure it out.
That's a show on Nickelodeon if you haven't seen it.
Yeah. We have a bunch of new alerts too. No, it's fine, Fuzzrab. I just have to make sure they upgraded the system on Streamlabs, so everything's different now. So I have to figure it out. Yeah, and then Saturday we will be doing team night again. We'll probably be playing either Duck Game or We Need to Go Deeper. So yeah, that's our week in advance. Talk to him, buddy. Tell him about you.
Hi, I'm GM Patch Nasty. This is usually where I say mustache a bunch of times, but I'm not. But what you should do is get yourself some paper, make a dungeon, and throw as many pitfall traps as you can in it. Make them 30 feet, make them 40 feet, and then tweet them to me at GM Patch Nasty. Mustache. See? Only 2 times that time.
And take pictures of them and put them in our Discord, because that'd be cool too. Yeah. Do me a favor. My name's Thundercat0420, and I need you to go follow Dysfunctional Gaming on Twitter and ask questions to us for D&D.
It doesn't even matter what questions you want to ask.
Yes,
ask us how big our feet are.
Yeah,
We'll answer.
And I'll say that my gnome Candu had size 2.5 feet.
I'm not a D&D character, but I got hobbit feet. What's up? How you doing?
I'm not. I have hobbit feet too. Really big, hairy feet.
Yeah. Like they got the toe hair going up.
Hold on. We gotta save that for the OF. We gotta save that for the OF.
Oh, okay. All right.
So yeah, I'm Thundercat0420. Find me on all those things. But
do the things.
I'd rather you go watch Zombo Force and subscribe to our YouTube and subscribe to us on Discord as a team. You're looking at DD with disgust, aren't you?
It hurts so much. Like I can feel it in my bones.
All right. I gotta mute this real quick.
Muting that real quick.
All right. We should go to Tater. What do you think?
We should. Hold on. Wait. I have to do this now. Copy. Paste. Do that. That's the thing you should do.
All right.
Thank you, DD, for putting that there, but I had to scroll up. We're good. Love you.
We're gonna raid
over
to Tater.
The man behind the voice of Swamp Piss.
That's right.
Rolling credits. Rolling credits.
Hey, I like that it worked right away. I didn't even have to press it.
Yeah, button. Yeah, Streamlabs. Shout out to Streamlabs for being there.
Right.
And Fuzzrap. And Vandal. And all the peoples. Thanks for being here, peoples. You can't see me waving to you. But
thank you
guys for coming. We hope you be here next week. Roll some more dice and play D&D. I don't know where this is gonna end. I think it ends there, but I kept on going. I'm Randy Newman. We're gonna raid over. Please click the button so I can talk the voice. Boop-a-da-boop, Toy Story.